So here we are at the long-awaited SEMA 2022. We're going to go inside and look at some sick stuff from our sponsors and maybe look at some cool cars, but maybe not this one behind me. So we're here at CSF. CSF is our partner in many fun projects, big supporter of us. We do racing with them, all kinds of cool things, and this is Robbie, and he's going to go over what cool things are in this booth this year.
Thanks, Mike. We have two pretty spectacular cars. The first one being Mike Burrows' Ferrari 308. He's the owner of Stanceworks. He's been working on this car for about 2 years, and it's actually a K-swap. So it's about 1,000 horsepower, turbocharged, K-swap motor. It's got a Rye-wire harness, Liberty Walk body kit. He's got custom aero from RS Future, custom hood from Son of Cobra. So it's a pretty spectacular car. He's got the goal to actually race this car, so detune it down to about 800 horsepower. It's going to be a global time attack car. So yeah, it's pretty wild. It's definitely been a big draw. Everyone loves what they see. On the other side, we have the new BMW time attack car. So it's we call it the M4 Evo. It's built by Art of Attack, also RS Future, and we have all of our new BMW S58 cooling on it as well. So the charge cooler, the heat exchanger, and the transmission oil cooler. So we're going to be targeting about 800 horsepower with this car, maybe about 750 on the racetrack. And I would say this is probably the most race car M4 in the world right now. It's completely gutted. Riley Stair from RSP Motorsports just did a full cage on the car. Pretty much a full bolt-on car, pure stage 2 turbos, Visconti tuning power, port injection kit. It's all ready to go. It's going to be at Global Time Attack in about 2 weeks.
So what's new this year for product?
Yeah, I can use that intake manifold that was off of the, that's on the car. This is all that new BMW G80 three-piece kit. Over here, we're showcasing our new line of black radiators. So we have a full line of about 10 SKUs that we're now offering in black. So if a customer wants to get, one of our popular models, this being our drag race radiator, but Subaru, Mitsubishi, a lot of the sport compact stuff we'll be offering in that. We actually have this pretty cool BMW S54 swap for E30s and E36 cars. So any BMW chassis that's going to be doing an S54 swap, this is great. It fits an oil cooler as well. So we got a few BMW models. We're doing this all billet Skyline radiator for along with top rank importers. So for R32, R30, R34. So it's pretty cool. Full billet radiator, something super premium that will work really nicely. This is the Mercedes 190E. Another part that you can't buy anymore from the OEM, so we're making that and like a DTM style add-on oil cooler as well. And then we're also showcasing just some different technologies and different things that we're doing. So this is for an EV company, and this is an EV module. So you have a radiator, an AC condenser, a fan shroud, and a fan that goes with it. And we're selling this to agricultural companies, industrial companies, so we're really starting to get into some other non-automotive applications. This is our first go at a computer server cooler. So we just made this for another company. It's like a $30,000 super high-end gaming PC, algorithms, simulations, and it's got a clear case with a bunch of lights in it, and they just wanted the, cooler to stand out, so we mirror polished it. And it actually works about 40% better than the current one they're using now. So we just got that data over the weekend, and we're really happy about it. So other products, some private label stuff that we do for other manufacturers, new Ford Bronco, and just a different array of coolers.
All right, well, CSF has a bunch of cool stuff. It's really exciting to see a lot of the new product, and thank you very much for having us, and thank you for all the support over the past year.
Yeah, I really appreciate the mutual support, Mike. Thank you so much, and check it out on MotoIQ.com.
Have a good show, man.
Thank you.
So we're here at the Holley with Evan, and Evan's going to show some exciting new stuff that's a little bit different than normal.
Absolutely. So Holley's kind of been a performance company, and you think about us and speed and power, but there's a lot of products that are under the Holley umbrella and family of brands that are really, really great for a lot of different reasons. So this is our Holley Retro Bright headlights. So these were something that we launched relatively recently, but they're an LED sealed beam replacement. So it doesn't really matter what kind of car it is. If it had a sealed beam and it's the 5.75 inch round diameter, 7 inch, or one of the rectangular sealed beams, it's a direct swap. So you get 3 times the brightness draws half the electrical current, which is good for guys that either have a setup that's running on a battery or maybe a smaller amperage alternator, especially older hot rods where they might even have a generator. And that voltage is really precious and they don't want to lose it. So that works great, and they're so bright and they last 6 times as long. So it's a really, really premium product. We do them in a 5700 Kelvin temperature, a 3000 Kelvin temperature, which is kind of a yellowish, like classic light, or you can get them with the yellow kind of Euro lenses. So it's a really, really great light for guys that want to drive their cars. If you're at the track or a car show and you don't want to have to leave early, or you're worried about visibility or just being able to see at night, that's kind of the solution that they bring to the table.
So it's not just for American cars. Like if you have an A86 or
Absolutely.
or a NA Miata or S13, right?
Early 911. I mean, anything with a sealed beam, they're completely agnostic of brand or style. So it's just, instead of replacing the big, heavy, crack-prone glass sealed beam with another one of those, this is a great option to bring more brightness, and it's completely plug and play. It'll bolt right into the factory pigtail.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually pretty exciting. I guess some of the other stuff I wanted to talk about is your LS drive kits, right?
Yeah, so this is actually a Gen 3 Hemi front drive. You know the LS stuff really well. That's been hugely popular for us. But with the Gen 3 Hemi, they put the some of the components really low. They didn't fit in between frame rails of some early A bodies and a lot of swap cars. So we took what we did on the LS that everybody loves and you've used a ton, and applied that to the Gen 3 Hemi. So if you have a VVT engine or the earlier non-VVT engine, there's 2 part numbers. It mounts everything off of a new timing cover. So everything fits really nice, tidy. There's not a ton of brackets that you have to worry about installing. So they go together quick. They have AC as an option, and then you have a Holley brand alternator as well, which solves some of the charging problems that swap guys were encountering.
I mean, one of the reasons why I'm so excited and why you should be excited is if you've ever done engine swaps, getting all the accessory drives will nickel and dime you to death. And, Holley makes a kit where it's all there, everything you need, one price, and the price is actually surprisingly low. Like, I think I priced it out that it was less than half of buying all the parts individually from the dealer.
Yeah, they're really affordable. You don't have to go to a junkyard and find all the different components, or like you said, buy them individually. It all comes out in a box, and it's really easy to install. So it's not the most exciting part of putting an LS or a Hemi in something, so we just kind of make it simple so you can get right back to the parts that are fun and get it running really quickly.
Let's go look at the new manifold.
Sure.
So the ultra low ram is something that I'm really excited about. Like, I've been begging you guys to make this thing for a few years, and here it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got the high ram, which everybody knows and loves, and then we got it a little bit lower with the mid-rise, and then we did the first low ram. So now we have the ultra low ram. So it is the most compact LS intake manifold that we sell. So it's great for guys that have a 4th gen Camaro with a really like steep hood or very shallow hood line, not a lot of underhood real estate. It also fits a C5 Corvette, and if it fits those, it fits just about everything else that has narrow like hood recesses. So what this does is it takes the typical high ram top, and actually we machined and cast a new intake manifold that's going to bring it in from the front. So it lowers the throttle body, makes it fit the hood just that much better. This is available in a single injector or a dual injector version. So you get the dual injector rails that'll accommodate 16 injectors. So if you're making a ton of horsepower, you're running E85, or you're doing something where you just really need to move a lot of fuel through the intake, this is kind of a really great on-the-shelf solution. There aren't many 16 injector intake manifolds that you can order and have tomorrow.
I think some of the cool things is you get the runner length by kind of crossing it inside the plenum, right?
It doesn't cross that much inside the plenum. It is a short runner intake, so it's definitely designed for higher horsepower, higher RPM engines. But the way that it's designed, it's actually the same runner length as a low ram. So it's not an even shorter runner length than what was already pretty short. It's a little bit shorter than the high ram and the mid-rise, but it's absolutely targeted to high horsepower, high RPM engines.
So everybody that's doing an LS swap in your S chassis or in your FD RX-7 or whatever, this is the manifold. I'm pretty sure it'll fit all of those easily.
Absolutely designed with some of those swap applications in mind, where those guys just don't have the room, and something like this looks cool, but not everybody wants to cut a hole in their hood.
That's awesome. What else do you got to show us?
So our Holley Sniper line has been really, really huge for us. That's a throttle body injected EFI system. So for guys that have a vintage car that had a carburetor and they want to kind of go to modern drivability and get EFI affordably, quickly, without changing the entire top end of the engine, and maybe aren't as familiar with EFI and kind of want to big toe into it, that's a great solution. So they get the cold start ability of EFI, they get the tunability. You can do it through a handheld or a laptop. It's self-learning, so it's a really good kind of first step into EFI that rewards in not only drivability but also fuel economy. And it's 1,000 CFM throttle body, so if you're coming off of a very small carb, you're picking up power. So it really just kind of rewards in every way, and it helps a lot of guys with vintage cars just be able to drive their car more and more easily.
Where's that?
This is our Holley Sniper.
Oh.
This is the EFI assembly itself. So there's injectors, the computers in here, all the relevant sensors, 4-wire hookup. So very, very simple to install for people that maybe aren't super comfortable with wiring. And then what's new for SEMA 2022 is we've got our HyperSpark Master Kits. So this is an ignition box, this is a coil. You can basically get everything that comes together in one part number. So people don't have to piecemeal it together, they can kind of get it. It's gonna have a HyperSpark distributor. Everything's gonna work together. It's a Hall effect pickup, so it's very, very, it's a very clean RPM signal, and it works really well with the computer. You don't have any noise issues. So it's some people just want to be able to have it all in one box, and that's kind of what we offer with that. We also do a ready-to-run distributor, and that's for guys that are making a little bit less than 500 horsepower. Mm-hmm. So the idea there is that the ignition driver is in the distributor. So it's, again, plug and play, very, very simple wiring, and you don't need an ignition box with that. It works with pretty much every coil. So if you just want to keep it really, really simple, you're not making a ton of horsepower, it's the perfect solution to add EFI to a car.
That's pretty awesome. I've noticed that you've come out with a bunch of different cast manifolds too.
Yeah, we've got quite a few cast manifold options. I mean, there's this particular high is for a Gen 3 Hemi, so we've supported LS for a long time. We're doing more Hemi stuff. We've got small block Ford. There's a lot of really, really good options. This is just a Windsor small block Ford intake. It's like, wow, a Windsor intake in 2022, but as more people get into EFI, we're giving them different options. Single plane comes with the rails, so it's just, you don't have to weld, you don't have to have a friend with a TIG welder. It takes the injectors right out of the box, and it just makes it that much easier to put EFI in a car that maybe didn't have it already.
Actually, a Windsor Ford is the very first motor I ever built.
Is it really?
Yeah, like when I was in high school.
Okay. Well, 40 years later.
Well, more than 40 years, unfortunately. So there we have it, a bunch of exciting stuff from Holley. Holley's one of our partners, and we incorporate a lot of their stuff into our builds, and looking forward to doing a few more things with some of these new products.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike.
On to the next place. So we're at KW, and we work closely with KW all the time, and I'm here with Frank. And what's new, Frank?
Morning, Mike. We've got some new products that we launched throughout the year. A new product line called the V3 Leveling Coilover Kit. The leveling product line is something that allows you to get the V3 shock technology, so like the independent rebound and compression adjustment, in a package that is more geared towards like a stock height vehicle, right? You want that improved performance that a V3 gives you, but you want to keep your car at or close to stock height, which is something a lot of people ask for. And that shares the same valve technology with the V3 that we're known for. We're trying to make those lines a little clearer. So as we get into like our Club Sport product as well, what used to be our the two-way Club Sport, which uses the V3 valve technology, we've now just call it the V3 Club Sport. And so we're trying to, like I said, paint those pictures so it's a little easier for people to understand. I know at times it can be more confusing, but we do our best to explain the differences and try and guide people down the right path.
Well, I think what the main point is that you have product that covers probably every corner of the suspension upgrade market.
Yeah, definitely, and that's something that has always been a goal of ours. We understand, not everybody's looking for the same thing out of their coilovers, right? Mm-hmm. Somebody might want something a little more comfortable. Somebody might want the absolute street, track performance for the road. So we try to make sure that there's a product there for everybody and make sure we get them what they're looking for.
I noticed that you have some, there's all this cool street stuff, but there's some really cool stuff I see in the cases behind here. Like, this looks like a solid piston with electronic control module.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a prototype setup that we've built for some OE manufacturers. And it's a solid piston damper with 2 independent electronic valves. So what that does, paired with the ECU, is it gives us the ability to control the independent rebound and compression in a semi-active system with a computer controller. And then there's a network of 7 sensors that go into the car as well to help, dictate what the shocks are doing. It helps us keep tabs on those inputs as well as the inputs on the pitch and roll of the car as well. And then the computer does the work for you and gives you the ride comfort you're looking for.
And is this a new generation of HLS pump?
It's a prototype that we're working on. It hasn't been released for full production yet, but we're trying different packaging options and trying to work out what works best. We know that the HLS is a very convenient system for a lot of people, so we want to try and make it as small and compact as possible to fit in more places.
For those of you that don't know, the acronym HLS stands for Hydraulic Lift System, and we really like the system. We've used it on a number of our project cars. It enables you to raise the car really quick, so if you're going up a driveway or something, or if you want more ground clearance, keep a nice ride, it's a great package. So what's the motorsports stuff? That looks pretty exciting.
Yeah, so some of our history with Porsche, we've been a supplier for their GT3R program for a few generations now. The one that we have on display here is going to be used in a similar type for the 992 generation GT3R as well. Mm-hmm. So that solid piston tech in the motorsports realm is it's proven its value, and a lot of teams are adapting it for their use, and a lot of manufacturers are starting to use it in their projects as well.
So I see the 5-way adjustable. So there's high speed, low speed, compression, and rebound.
Yep.
The 5th adjustment is a kind of like a super blow off for the compression, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's just there to help the car maintain control and platform over big bumps, curbs, and things like that. It just helps to taper off that force production at a certain level so the car doesn't get all out of whack, and they can kind of control that a little better.
So if you don't know what we're talking about, generally on compression damping, even if you have adjustable high speed, if you hit something kind of big, the force continues to go up. And this is an adjustment where you can control that. And if you hit a curb or something on the track, this will prevent the car from hopping around, and you could adjust that to whatever your curbs are doing or whatever the driver's doing. So this is a pretty neat thing.
Yeah, it's something that was necessary, and the feedback that we've got from some pretty famed racing drivers around the world have just been magical. They don't know how to describe it. It's like, I don't know. It's like wizardry and shocks, and it's proven itself, like I said, with the championships. The team in Germany has worked hard to make sure that these packages are technically what the manufacturers need for their race cars, and then their engineers take them day to day and race them on circuits around the world, and have been very successful.
Well, I can't wait to get my hands on some solid piston stuff on some of our racing things.
Yeah, you have some experience with it, right? You guys put a V5 coilover kit on a C8.
Oh yeah, we did. So that's a little bit, but I want to work on the actual race car with these.
Yeah, definitely.
So there you go, everybody. A lot of exciting stuff from KW this year. Pretty big changes in the product lineup, and they have something for everyone.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Appreciate you guys coming by.
So we're here at McLeod with one of my childhood heroes, Lisa Kubo. I don't know if I've ever been a child, or it was so long ago, but you've been my hero for forever. And I'm stoked to be talking to you.
Oh, well, I thank you for coming by. Childhood, we're still in our childhood. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I guess so. So you're bringing the Honda back, and I'm really stoked about that. I mean, that car was awesome, and I mean, it actually made import drag racing, at least in my opinion.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. It was definitely a front runner, and now it's down in Florida with a great team of guys that is going to make it, once again, one of the front runners. I'm excited. My full faith is in what they're doing, so I'm just here. I'm along for the ride, and whatever they tell me, I do.
I mean, now, like, the class is fully mature, and there's actually rules and like specifications, but like the technology's really improved. You know, like, I'm really removed from drag racing, but you know, you're explaining to me some of this stuff, and it's pretty high tech now, right?
It's wild. How high tech it is definitely very wild. Very exciting to watch, very exciting to see. I stand there, like I was telling you, I stand on the line and I watch the cars from the back because I know what ours look like from back in the day. And they just black track straight, like straight as an arrow. It's so different and wild compared to what we went through. Like, you know, the cars were not as stable. We were trying different things just like they did, but they definitely kept the industry at a great pace. So I feel weird because I'm a rookie back in my own industry, but I'm here for the ride.
Oh man, I got to pay attention to all this. When's the car going to be running?
When I'm forecasting for myself, since it's, you know, self-funded, I'm going to see it come back out. I want to, you know, push for it by the end of next season, so I can at least get some test time with the car, get acclimated. It's been a whole 18 years, so I gotta, you know, learn everything all over. It's like riding a bicycle. I have all faith in myself, but it's just, you know, hearing everything, all the moving components again, and being able to register in my head for what I have to do.
Well, I mean, you're a legend, and it's just great to see you back doing it.
I feel great. I feel like a kid again.
So what's new with product here?
Well, something that we have pushed for, and it's like the greatest thing since sliced bread and butter, and here she is right here. We finally got her, the 7 1/4. I've wanted this. This is going to go across many multitudes of cars, but for me, it's very important because in the drag racing world, the 7 1/4 is what we need. So it can be run as a twin, triple, and we also make quads. Each disc holds up to 300 foot-pounds of torque. So we're ready. Once this goes into full production, I'm actually tonight taking this with me to the World Cup final event, so I can actually show people in the physical raw that look at what I have. It's here. So definitely very excited that we did, you know, acquire powertrain technology to be able to come under the McLeod roof, so we can come out here and keep on showing them great product.
The significant thing is that these clutches are really low inertia, right?
Oh, definitely. So, you know, you can get it hooked up where it's a Lighten flywheel, aluminum flywheel. You can have a regular flywheel. So it's going to be, we're going to have everything to be able to cater to all the racers for what they're going to need for each application. So it's not, you know, it's not just this. We can do sprint cars. We could do any type of cars, NASCARs, all types of cars with having the capabilities of these style clutches.
That's really exciting, and it's going to really fill out the product line here.
Oh yeah, now it's going to be well-rounded. So we didn't come to play before. We're definitely not coming to play now.
Well, I'm excited to see that. When do you think it's going to be available to the public?
Probably, I'd give it probably about a month or two. There's no stopping. I mean, back at home right now, everything's being put together and loaded, all inventory, everything. We hit the ground running. So while some of us are here at SEMA, we got a great team back over at McLeod headquarters, and they hit the ground running, getting this thing ready. So once everything comes back, I'm back home. I'm gonna be pushing this thing.
Well, we're really excited, and I mean, this has applications in road racing,
yep,
and
road racing,
even drifting.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. All arenas, here we come.
Well, there we have it. Some exciting stuff, exciting new product line, and Lisa's coming back. So we're here right now with Will, Mr. Clutch, and he's going to talk about a new off-road series of clutches. And there's like a unique requirements for off-roading, and Will, explain it all to me.
Well, we developed the Adventure Series here at McLeod, and we have 4 different levels, and it's just easier for me to show you. We have our Trail level, which is the entry level. Trail Pro, that's what I run in my Jeep. Super Trail Pro, which is a multi-friction, so it's got a organic on one side, a segmented material on the other, and then the Extreme is puck style on both sides. So it's for the guy, big tires, putting a lot of power to it, and really dependent on that clutch. And then we max it all with the Max flywheel, and that is right here. And this is a pretty heavy flywheel.
Let me,
go ahead and try to pick that up.
Wow. Yeah, this thing is heavy.
So this is 45 pounds. and the unique thing about it, as you can see, it is SFI proof. Steel billet flywheel. And one unique thing that we do with this is the stock flywheel has an open bearing to it, okay? And what we want to do is have a sealed bearing in there, and that's what we design and develop. This bearing is rated to 18,000 RPM. Not that any engine will ever do that, and it better not, right? Because if it does, it's only going to do it one time. With the Jeep, it sees so many different environments because we're in the dust, we're in the mud, we're in the water, and all that coming inside of the bell housing will hurt this bearing, if it's opened, an open bearing. So we want a sealed bearing, and that's what we designed and developed for this. And then the other trick thing that we did is the hydraulic release. Mm-hmm. So the JKs, they have an inherent issue of making a bearing rattle. And if you ever hear it, you're just sitting there and hear, well, that's just the bearing rattling on the stock component. So what we do is we take that whole collar off and put an internal bearing in it. The nice thing about this bearing, it's a large bearing. So what we're doing is we're reducing bearing speed over the OE bearing. And this is a lot of travel here. So we're putting this inside of it. This comes right inside, comes out, and where this factory slave is, we seal this off so we don't get any dirt and debris inside of it. But this piston inside of this is aluminum piston. A lot of other manufacturers have a plastic piston in this style bearing. This is unique to McLeod as we have an aluminum piston, so it won't gall up. It won't seize on this collar in here like others will. And then the adapter that comes to this actually comes right off of the factory line. It plugs right into here. The factory line will come from the master down. We'll plug into here, and then we also have the bleeder. So this system here is probably the best system out there, that you can still bleed this system and eliminate any type of bearing rattle itself.
And the super heavy flywheel helps when you're putting down the trail at low speeds. Sure. Helps prevent stalling and jerking.
Sure.
And also when you have really big tires, right, that helps get them going.
So everything we're doing in the off-road industry is we're putting big tires on it. We're adding all kinds of stuff, tent, bumpers, winches, whatever we're adding to it. All we're doing is weighting that vehicle down. And so when you do that, it's harder for the engine not to stall when you let the clutch out. So the weight of the vehicle pulls the engine down very easily and quickly and stalls it. So to combat that, we put a lot of energy on the back of the flywheel, which are on the back of the engine. So all this energy spinning. So now when you let the clutch out, the weight of the vehicle doesn't pull the engine down and stall it as easily. You can actually put, like on mine, I can put it in first gear, let the clutch out, and it'll just crawl everywhere. I don't even have to touch the throttle.
So it's kind of like built-in diesel, kind of.
Kind of, yeah. It's just a chugga. So,
yeah. Now the characteristics of an off-road clutch are different than what we're used to too, right?
Yes and no. So we generally run a little more Marcel than we do on a street performance disc because we want the comfortable feeling of that user control. So we want that modulation. So when you're driving the clutch, you need that nice and smooth. So when the clutch is coming in, it's not an on-off switch. And so we want that nice control, driver control. Because if you're placing a tire on a trail and you need a certain rock, there's a rock or whatever, you need to have the control to be able to look out the window or whatever you're doing, but place that tire on the mark that you need. So when you have a clutch that's on-offish, you lose that control and that jerkiness. And it all matched together with a mass flywheel, the disc, the pressure plate, and the hydraulic assembly. It's just a nice driving piece. On or off road.
That's all like really interesting, and sure we'll be trying some of this stuff on Jeff's crazy Jeep project.
Yeah, we'll get you guys out there and a different type of performance. In the Jeep's world, performance is off road. We may not go fast, but we can really still get the pucker factor up there.
So there we go. It's a different technology, different way of thinking, but we'll be testing some of this stuff out soon. Thank you, Will.
You're very welcome. Very welcome. Appreciate it.
So we're here at Race Winning Brands. Race Winning Brands makes some of our favorite engine parts, and we're with Mike, and he has some exciting new parts to show us for this year.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys coming over. This year we're here to introduce our two versions of our 2JZ platform engine block. What you see in front of us is our billet version. We also are in development over here on our cast iron style factory style replacement. And kind of the bridge between the two is, this is your all-out 3,000 horsepower type full race methanol, large boost numbers. This reaches out to a much larger group of people for the need of, OEM cores are becoming hard to get.
Right.
Failures, higher horsepower rating, especially like E85 combinations, stuff like that. Power levels has gone up. Obviously, a factory block technology is factory block technology. So there was definitely a need in the market that we seen, a gap that we could fill with the new product.
So I know in Formula Drift we're responsible for destroying a lot of the OEM blocks.
Yeah. Put a hurting on the OEM inventory that's available out there.
So I'm looking at this and I see, billet main caps. That's a popular thing to do.
Yep. So ours varies a little bit, as you notice, 4 fasteners per cap, 12 mil and a 10 mil, and we did this for more clamping force, better structure on the mains, keep it from twisting, pulling apart under large boost at high RPM applications.
Looks like it has a lot of register area, even like in the sides.
Yep, so we increased the bulkhead of the register area, where we see in the factory fracturing and cracking and pulling apart there. We've made it a solid all the way up into the bore carriage for added strength.
What kind of liners does it have?
So we use a deep flange Darton, our steel caps, like I said, 12 mil and 10 mil fasteners.
Does the sleeve register like on the top?
Yeah, so it's very deep, and then especially on the billet version, our head studs thread engagement start at the underneath of the flange, so that allows it to give a nice pulling surface without distorting the top of the bore.
Yeah, that's a really important thing that as the power gets up, we're learning about thread placement and studs and all that.
It's very, very important in the design of the block to be able to put that thread where it needs to be.
So with the iron block, just looking at this instantly, I see you have screw-in freeze plugs.
Yep. So Toyota did a really good job with the architecture of the OEM block. So we had a good base to benchmark from. Like I said, this block, the cast iron features the same main cap and main style as our billet. We also
4 bolts.
Yep, 4 bolts. It's 12 mil, 10 mil. We've also increased the crankcase thickness. The factory is around 80 in a lot of cases, 4-shift and whatnot. Ours is a consistent 250 thousandths. So you add all that strength from the block twisting. We also relocated the oil passages upward, and that allowed us to be able to machine it for a 94 millimeter stroke with aluminum rod without having to break through the oil passage, which some people happen to have on an OEM block.
Is the deck height the same as stock?
Deck height's the same. All the factory mounting positions the same. Water pump or oil pump, water pump, all that is the same factory head bolt pattern. So you could basically take your Supra engine, pull it out, bolt everything to this block, and put it back in.
I really like the beefiness aspect of the rails and stuff, because these inline motors, they're always like wanting
supplement
to twist.
Yep, supplement to twist. So that was one thing we definitely, when we went benchmarking the engineering side on it, was a high goal to try to cure some of that. So.
And then the studs thread deep within.
Yep. deeper stud, increased deck thickness. Our this block version has a 3/4 inch deck.
Oh, dang, really?
So you see a lot of factory blocks that fail through the deck. It's from over torquing the head and the deck being so thin. So you stress that out and it cracks. Where that adding that thickness should cure any of that issue.
Man, it's going to take a lot of boost.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, we're rating this to the 2,500 horsepower range. You know, we're pretty modest with how we rate things, but I think that's a good target for the consumer. So.
I think like the drift guys are going to really like this because, I mean, in drifting everything breaks.
Oh yeah, definitely. High RPM, sustained RPM. Like I said, you know, the improvements where we made it for those guys, for the drag race guys, you know, high horsepower street guys. It's kind of all the same problems that in a factory block that you would see. So.
I mean, like, people that follow us know I really love the 2J, and it looks like you've addressed like every single shortcoming that I've seen as the horsepower levels start to rise.
Yeah, I mean, we tried, and the good thing and the benefit for us coming into it, this is largely expanded over many years in a global platform, right? So there was a lot of data out there for us to learn from and see failures and kind of benchmark and you know, good homework, I would say.
Now,
design.
Do you think Dart's going to come out with a cylinder head?
That's phase 2. Yep.
Oh, that's going to be super awesome.
Yep. There's definitely a need for that. So the block made more sense for us right now, and then we'll follow up with the cylinder head.
That's awesome news and great for our corner of the industry. What else you got to show me today?
So nice thing about Race Milling Brands, we encompass multiple brands, right? Multiple components. Which allows us to package a lot of products together and make an ultimate deal. Samples we have here are Boost Line 2JZ rod, ARP 2000 bolts, 3-pocket design, really beefy. And this is great for, you know, obviously steel rod for street applications, drift, and you get into higher horsepower, drag race, short run. We offer an aluminum rod version in our MGP brand. Either ARPL 19 or 625 bolts, depending on your preference.
I wanted to ask you, does Boost Line have a 625 option for their bolts?
They do. So you can get it with the 2000 or a 625 upgrade.
So for those of you that don't know, 625s are like the super bolts, and they're a lot stronger than the regular 2000. So if you're running a lot of boost, those are the bolts to have.
Goes along with our pistons, Trend wrist pins. All our piston brands supply Trend wrist pin. No matter DLC coated, heavy wall, H13, or our TP1, which is a Calty material. Same material and wrist pin that we would use like in a top fuel. So that tells you how much it'll hold up in a cylinder pressure in, you know, that type of environment. So. I
mean, I kind of like how you have the thick wall, because there's a big trend in the industry like maybe 10 years ago to taper wall really thin. And
Yep, and we've seen, you know, over many parts coming back, taper wall, once you start to remove that weight out, it starts to egg shape the pin, which then affects the pin bore, which then affects ring groove seal. So it kind of just daisy chains into my engine's not running real well.
I mean, one of the things I've seen a lot with decently boosted motors is the pin flexes, and it grabs the bushing on the small end of the rod and spins it out, then you have a small end failure.
Yep, small end, and it also starts to egg shape and distort the pin bores in the piston, which then can cause stress into cracking into the skirt area and the ties, and have, you know, ultimately have a piston failure or a wrist pin failure.
You got anything else for this year?
Yep. So, like I said, kind of goes along with the package. We offer many different variations of pistons, you know, anywhere from like a street replacement style SRP or Pro True, all the way up to a Diamond Rebel Series for 2J. And these are, you know, we have these in 25 to 3,000 horsepower drag engines.
Yeah, I'm just eyeballing it. It looks like a big horsepower version.
Kind of compare it to, you know, slate slide, lower top ring. You know, we move the top ring down, side gas ports, thicker skirts, thicker crown. You know, just kind of application built.
So these are about good to about 1,200 maybe?
Yeah, so like our shelf part or standard series, 12 to 14, and then you move up to the Rebel series, which, like I said, we've had them in 25 to 3,000 horsepower applications.
Well, that's some of the cool stuff that's out for this year, and thank you for having us.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
So this is probably the coolest thing I've seen at the SEMA show so far. There's a Haltech, and it's spinning around in this thing, and nothing's attached to it. So, man, how does this work? I mean, I wonder what's going to happen. Wow. Tim, could you tell me about the Haltech anti-gravity technology?
Amazon.
Oh, I thought it was some alien tech. Oh.
It's not that magic, is it?
I guess its field was disturbed.
Apparently so. This is apparently the hit. Other way. There you go. This is the hit of the show. We've spent millions of dollars developing ECUs, and this $100 piece from Amazon apparently is what we should have been doing all along.
Well, speaking about serious stuff, the stuff that you've been coming out with lately is really awesome. I mean, everybody loves PDMs, but only a few companies had PDMs available, and to see another PDM out there is cool. But this unit is really cool because it's the ECU and PDM in one, right?
Yes. So this is called the R3. So first it came the R5 last year, year before last, released the R5. It's ECU, accelerometers, Wi-Fi, and everything all in one housing, PDM and all that. So once we saw the success of the R5, we said, hey, we need a unit that's a little lower cost that will appeal to the broader market. So that's the R3. Same basic design, same basic features of benefits, a couple of connectors less, but again, internal PDM, Wi-Fi, accelerometers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
So to back up a little bit, for those of you that don't know what we're talking about when we say PDM, PDM means power distribution module, and what that does is basically eliminates the need for a fuse box, relays, and a bunch of stuff like that. So it's a clean solid state unit that really makes wiring and getting all your power needs all over the car very simplified and reliable.
Yeah, much the same, like Mike said, much the same as an ECU controls the engine. PDM will control the chassis electronics and that type of thing. And so instead of just having a fuse you plug in and you run a 15 amp fuse in it, you can go into the software and say that output's 15 amp. Trip it, if it trips at 15, retry 3 times, or all the types of things you can do with an ECU you can do with controlling Mr. Electron going to headlights, taillights, and all those things. Yep.
Basically, it's a smart fuse box.
That's it, yeah.
So how many channels does your PDM have? I think you said it, but I was so entranced by that wasn't thinking clearly.
Well, when it fell, it took your attention away. That has 16, the PD16 has 16. And then this has slightly less outputs on it. Obviously, we can't fit all that in here. But this works really well for someone looking to do engine management and chassis control, limited amount of that. Now you can also add a PDM to this one or the R5 or the other ECUs also.
I mean, I think that's so sweet because I'm a big proponent of, on race cars, simpler is better. So less boxes, more integration, more reliability, less things to go wrong.
Right, and that's, if you look at the Haltech line, that's what they're working towards. If you look into a race car, street cars, particularly race cars, that's what we're concerned with. You look at race cars and there's a rat's nest of wiring and 5 boxes and all this type of thing going on, and what we're moving towards is more like a set of consolidated design, puts it all in one box, all in one location.
That's really important too, because being around race cars a long time, I've kind of found that 80% of your DNFs are caused by either the wiring messing up or the plumbing. And I always stress for people to spend a lot of money on both rather than sexy parts, because you get your plumbing and your wiring down, your car is going to finish.
Right, and that's what we're trying to help people with, just the simplicity of that overall again, the complexity of the vehicle, trying to make it a lot easier on them, because when that all works well, you can focus on driving, you can focus on things that you normally wouldn't be focused on because you're trying to figure out how this works.
So the ECU and PDM in one box, I mean, here's what I'm scared to ask. About how much is this going to cost?
We're looking at, we haven't set the price yet. Obviously with Q1 2023 release, we haven't put a number out yet, but like all these things, you're going to be with a harness and ECU somewhere in the $3,000 range, but don't quote me on that. Don't hold me on that exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's the deal when you consider you're getting the PDM too.
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at the breakout prices of some of these things, it's substantially more than that.
Well, here we go. The exciting new stuff at Haltech. Thank you very much for taking the time to show us around.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mike.
So here we are at the Supertech booth with Martin. How you doing, Martin?
Good, Mike. Nice to have you here. Nice to see you guys. It's been a while since we saw each other last, so glad to have you guys here.
Supertech is one of our big suppliers for valve train components. We probably use your stuff more than anybody else, and we've always been pleased with the quality and performance. And I guess we could talk about your company a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yes. We're basically an Argentinian-born company. We distribute out of here in Northern California. Most of our manufacturing has been done in Argentina. We started basically manufacturing valves, and that's our wheelhouse, our bread, basically what we're known for. But along the lines, we started manufacturing springs because they go along with our valves. Anybody that's ever needed to change a valve will probably need a stiffer spring to go along with their plans of engine manufacturing. So with that came, manufacturing also retainers, guides, and then we moved on to, the bottom end. We started manufacturing pistons, and with that, anybody that needed pistons will need a rod. So we, again, manufacture rods and head gasket as well. Everything's manufactured in Argentina with the exception of our gaskets, which are manufactured in Italy.
A lot of people don't realize, but Argentina has a huge motorsports industry, and they make top-notch parts. And in America, there's not that much realization about it. But if you know the global motorsports industry, Argentina has like an impressive array of like top-quality suppliers. And your company's kind of bridged the gap. Like, you've been in the United States a long time, but a lot of people don't realize that your basis is in Argentina.
Yeah, that's correct, Mike. Manufacturing, we're also born from Argentina, so for us, my father that started the company was keen into bringing and bridging that gap. He has a lot of connections in Argentina, and we forged a foundry with the valve manufacturer that does OEM valves. So with that, we started doing the high performance side of things, and that's how we kind of bridged the gap in motorsports from Argentina and bringing it here in the United States.
I mean, I know from actually using your stuff, and then, we kind of know like what's the state-of-the-art kind of features in motorsport parts, like pistons and rods, and I would say that your stuff is like even ahead of, like, a lot of people think Japan is the cutting edge, but I think Japan is actually, for a lot of parts, they're maybe 10 years behind the US. But I see like a lot of the features of cutting edge stuff in your parts.
Yeah, I think when we're doing a small displacement engines, there's a lot of technical aspect that has to go into the parts. The smaller the displacement of the engine, the more performance we have to try to get out of it. So the part has to have a lot more detail oriented to have that horsepower be translated out of the engine. That's why you'll see a lot of our valves will have a undercut, a back cut to create more flow, which in translation will create more horsepower. Again, with the pistons, we'll try to coat them, try to make them as light as possible, do a stronger pin, a tool steel pin that's able to withstand higher temperatures and more horsepower that's being thrown out in today's engines.
We just did a YouTube video that's going to be coming out in a few weeks about some of the features of your valves. And we're talking about, like how old school you used to have to do 30-degree back cuts, but your valves already have the correct contours. And we're also talking about the undercutting and everything, and how your valves come like that.
Yeah, it's standard for us to make, again, a high-performance valve where you don't need to kind of custom make it to your needs. We're here to make the best product possible. It cost beneficial to everybody.
There's also like a lot of other features that people might not be aware of. Like, I mean, I just even noticed like your valve springs use ovate wire.
That's correct.
They use isotropic polishing. I mean,
right.
the polishing is like really important because any surface defect on something that sees repeated stress, like, could easily generate a crack, and that's a good way to improve the fatigue strength, and you get rid of any potential crack sites, and that's like a state-of-the-art kind of thing for springs.
That's correct. Yep, we put a lot of details and emphasis on a lot of that on our parts. Everything is polished, coated to kind of prevent those blemishes that one might see on different products. So with that said, we're able to create springs where they're single springs, dual springs, beehive springs, conicals, using new and improved materials and changing sometimes from round wires to ovate wires, which changes the characteristics of the springs and gives you a little bit less harmonics, for example, where you can play around with your different cam designs.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize the harmonic and ovate issue, and like in cam design, like when you're talking about high order harmonics, these are the things that actually contribute to valve float more than anything else. Like a lot of people just think, lighter is better and more spring tension, but actually if you could avoid the harmonics, you could avoid valve float without going to a lot of tension.
Yeah, that's correct. And a lot of people, to your point, think that sometimes going a stiffer spring is better, just get the stiffest springs possible, or they think, they get the softer spring to think they can rep higher. That's truly not the case. You want to make sure that your spring is there to control your valve, which is dictated by your cam. There's a lot of very moving parts, so everything has to be very specific to the needs of the customer.
There's a lot of other cool things, like little details that people might not see. Like this black coating, a lot of people and a lot of other valve companies, they just have like a black oxide coating,
right.
But this is actually nitriding.
That's right. This is a black nitride. It's micro-polishing coating, so it prevents less friction, hardens the valve, so it prevents fatigue from the valve. So those are all things that we do in-house for all our valves across the range from all our products.
So thank you for talking to us, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you, and thanks for this in-depth look at some of your stuff.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for the support that you guys have always shown to us over the years, and we look to continue it and see what the next 10, 20 years look for us.
So there you go, Supertech, a quick overview. So SEMA 2022, that's a wrap. Please go check out our sponsors that you've seen in this video, and damn, my feet hurt. Until next year, we'll see you later. Who wants to bet that the owner of this car has a really small penis?